record. As we were looking at the last part of our handout, so we looked at buying advantages. We're looking at internal economies of scale. So the last one, we looked at technical economies. We had looked at marketing economies. Now we look at financial economies. So as a farm grows, a farm achieves two things. First, they have a very good reputation. Look at Safaricom. Safaricom can even raise money outside this country and even inside this country. There are very few companies that can do that. When you borrow, they call it borrowing offshore. You know, when you borrow offshore out of this country, you not only borrow at lower rates, but at better terms in terms of payment. When the interest rate would be higher here, it would be much cheaper outside there, assuming maybe you don't have extremes of changes in inflation rate. The rate of inflation, it's better for big companies like Safaricom, KenGen, KPLC has been borrowing outside the country. Now, how come the others can't? Because if you're small, you don't have the reputation, which can help you even to borrow from banks within. Now, Safaricom even has access to the Nairobi Stock Exchange. So what they can do is simply declare that they issue shares to the public, and public will flock buying those shares, and they'll get very cheap capital. It's only now they don't want to water down the shareholding. They don't want to have too many shares, but they have options. Now, a small company doesn't have this, you know. Then, so a farm, if a farm has a good reputation, like big companies like EABL, Safaricom, KenGen, KPLC, and even big insurance companies, and credibility, it can acquire loans from financial institutions. Not only acquire loans, but at a cheaper rate. They cannot get loans at the rate which I and you can be charged, because the bank considers us very risky. But Safaricom is considered to be less risky, a big organization. The larger the farm, the lower the cost of borrowing. Companies with a higher credit rating can usually borrow at a base rate plus some percentage, while smaller farms will be paying much higher rates because the risk is higher. Larger companies have access to the stock market to raise loans or even issue shares, and it is going to be cheap. And you know, when you issue shares, then the lending is long term. Because once a person buys shares, he's not in a hurry. A shareholder is there in the company to stay. That's what Kenya Airways did. When Kenya Airways had debts, we have already established CEO in again. So when Kenya Airways had huge debts, what they simply did, get out of that problem, they converted some of the debts into shares. If it was a small company, bank crazy to buy shares, then your shares would be worth nothing. But they accepted, and it was several banks, you know, Equity had lent them, I think KCB, Barclays might have also been there. Kenya Airways has quite a bit in terms of debts. They converted it into shares. So a small farm cannot have those opportunities. Those are called financial economies. They also have risk-bearing economies. Think about COVID. Do you know of any company that did not survive? It's because they could not survive the risk. You see, whenever there's a crisis or there are long periods of when the farm cannot make profits, a big farm can survive because they have reserves. They've saved something. A small farm, I know of a lady who had a school. When COVID hit, the school had to end because she could not have reserves to continue paying rent, and nobody knew for how long, and continue paying teachers. So the school just broke up. something she had built over the years, you know. So those are the risk-bearing economies we are talking about. Also, a big farm can have more than one supplier. So if there's a problem with supplies of raw materials, they have many other people to call them, rather than depending on one supplier. And also, a place to, a factory for production. Look at EABL. They have the main plant at Ruaraka. They have another plant in Kisumu. They have yet another plant in Tanzania. They have another plant in Uganda. So that gives them a lot of flexibility, even in transportation. For example, the plant in Kisumu can serve a certain area. The plant in Nairobi can serve a certain area. So should there be a problem, to say there's a breakdown in the plant in Kisumu, then they can get emergency supplies from Nairobi, because they have more than one location. A small farm cannot afford that. So risk-bearing economies, large businesses can face emergencies because they have more resources. I don't know where you were in 2008. Were you still very young? Post-election violence, a lot of businesses closed. A lot of businesses, it was a crisis. Because of the violence, a lot of businesses stayed home without making any activity. Some of them had their things destroyed, burnt by arsonists, by fire, or stolen, and so on. For some, it was the end of the road. Or Gikomba market fires. It's very, very frequent. There are people, if their stock is caught in the fire, they cannot restart. They can only weep and say, stock here, we are 2 million, I'm at 3 million in the farming. In the cushion, up in smoke. It's only a big farm that can restock and start. So large businesses can face emergencies because they have more resources. Market and demand. Large farms can diversify and offer a wider range of products. If the demand for one falls, it can be offset by the demand for another. If you look at big farms, they are brands. Look at Coca-Cola. Minute Maid, Bekeke Nakuja in orange, in cocktail, in pineapple, all sorts of. So they are brands. They have Coca-Cola, they have Dasani, you know. So they can track each product and see how it's performing. So it means in the market, their risks are spread and they are earning from several different products. It's not like that for small companies. For small companies, they could have only one product or only two. So if that product is affected, then you're down in the market. So big farms can manage risks. So market and demand, large farms can diversify and offer a wider range of products. If the demand for one fails or falls, it can be offset by the demand for the other. Then supplies and production. As a farm increases in size, it can buy from a wider range of suppliers and produce in a number of different locations. This helps to guard against the risk of raw material shortages or strikes or any other problem that could be there. Those were internal economies. So there are 4 categories of internal economies. If you have a theory question and you have to discuss, there are a whole 4 categories. You have a list of technical economies, you have marketing economies, then you have financial economies, and you have risk-bearing economies. Then finally, we have external economies. So external economies will benefit all the farms in the industry, regardless of size, regardless. External economies of scale, like government policy. So if there is a favorable government policy, like if the government provides subsidies to farmers, Kamajuzi, there are fertilizers going at 3,500 instead of 6,000. I think the market was selling at 6,500. Then the whole agricultural industry will benefit. There's no one farmer who will benefit. So our policy benefits the whole industry. No, regardless. when the government decided through parliament to say abolish, when they decide to abolish the interest capping law, the whole banking industry celebrated. They all benefit. So the interest capping law was limiting the interest banks can charge. Say you take the treasury bill rate 8% and only add 4%. Means if the treasury bill rate is 8% or 8.5%, you add another 4%, so you only charge interest of 12.5%. Then they removed those controls, interest rate controls, and the whole banking industry now can breathe, because they are saying it has been left each bank to decide and customers to decide whether they want to borrow or not. So Kenya Equity watakwambia what is their offer. You go to Standard Chartered, you go to KCB, you go to Equity, they have their offers. So it's the customer to make up their mind who they're going to borrow from. Lakini hakuna mtu ambaye ana limit the interest rate. So government policy. The government may want to encourage the production of a commodity by providing subsidies, like for farmers, tax reliefs, protection, etc. to all farms in that industry. I'll give you a very recent example. The central bank decided to implement a law that was passed by Parliament, which required that all online lending platforms be licensed. And out of the big number of companies we have, the central bank has only licensed a few. So there are not so many. So the regulation of apps that lend money to Kenyans has meant the whole industry has been affected. Whoever you are, kama wewe ni Tala, kama wewe ni nani, if you've not received say a license from central bank, you cannot operate. You cannot operate, and there are many that have been pushed out. Sijui umesikia story, wangapi mingapi zimebaki sasa? Few. I think they only license like 30 or less. Less than that. Kuna online lenders wengi, lakini wengi hawajakuwa license. Na wengine tayari walikuwa wamekopesha watu pesa. Yes. Now you cannot come out and buy the money. You know why? Because you are not licensed. So hizo ni losses. There are many that went on the media and on the internet and have been lending people money. Sasa huwezi kupata deni yako because you have not been licensed. So hiyo ni government policy. So policy ikija kwamba unapata leseni ni ufanye kazi, it affects the whole industry. Wale wanapata wanafaulu, wale hawapati license kama wengi sana hawajapata. Then research and development facilities. So research and development will help the whole industry. Kwa mfano, nimeona juzi government imesign kwamba sasa wanakubali GMOs. Kwa hivyo tutakuwa na cotton ambao ni GMO. In some cases maybe tutafaulu, but I'm not sure tutafaulu for all cases. Because kama cotton wanasema ni resistant to pests and then it's hardy. Wakati wa mvua kidogo bado unaweza kufanya nini? Unaweza kuvuna. So maybe hiyo inaweza kuwa nzuri. Lakini kwa vyakula unajua it's something that needed to be debated. Hata yule ambaye atakula ajue madhara, na utaambua GMO italeta yield. There'll be a lot of production, but inayo pia the side effects. Because sasa it has interfered with the hormones, kama ni wanyama, kama ni kuku, kama nini. So wewe pia kuna madhara ukila, ndio kwa sababu nchi zingine kansa imefanya imeenea sana. So wakati unataka kukubali GMO, lazima ukubalie watu pia wafanye nini? Wa discuss. Kuwe na debate na watu wakubaliane, ukijua kwamba nitakapo kutumia vyakula vya GMO, kuna uwezekano kwamba this and this can happen. Okay, so we are saying research ni nzuri, because kama JKUAT wamefanya a lot of research and they've improved people's lives. Wamekuja na ndizi ambazo zinakuwa kwa muda mfupi na si ndefu, ni short, na inatoa mgomba mkubwa sana. Asijui kama ni GMO, lakini wako na hizo variety, na wako na mushroom, wako na vitu vingi tu ambazo zina benefit society. So research in any production area, be it cotton production, be it maize production, ina benefit the whole industry. If you manage to come up with processes that are faster or that are, so naona sasa kama kuku, unafikiri kuku wa nini, wachana kienyeji hao wengine, unafikiri wanachukua muda gani? Unajua wanakuwa kwa muda gani? Kuku hawa kawaida wanaitwa broiler, unafikiri wanakuwa kwa muda gani? 5 weeks ni kidogo, lakini 5 ni accurate. Sio mbali sana, between 5 to 6. In fact, ikipita hapo imekuwa kukunzea, hata iwezi kutembea. It cannot walk. Na ina mafuta nyingi sana. So zamani ungeambia mtu anaweza kula kwa wiki 6, si mtu angeshtuka, because kuku wa kawaida wa kienyeji ni kuku ndio awe tayari kuliwa, sio chini ya mwaka mzima. Is long, sio chini ya mwaka mzima. Lakini sasa hata wako na improved kienyeji. Improved kienyeji anaweza kuwa tayari baada ya kama miezi kadhaa, miezi 6, 7, 8. Lakini kuku wa kawaida takes long. So research improves things. Research improves things. Lakini sasa unaona kama kuku wa wiki 6, ukiwa na mazoea wa kula wao, unajua kuna madhara. Yes. Utakuwa na veins ambazo ziko clotted na mafuta. Ndio unapata watoto wadogo, there are problems with the heart beating, kwa sababu heart imekuja zingirwa na mafuta. Sasa haina nafasi ya kupiga, vessels of blood zinakuwa blocked, unakuwa na shida mingi kwa sababu ya kula vitu vitamu hapa tamu. So if new techniques of production are invented, then all the farms in the industry will get the benefits. So that's an external economy. Everybody will benefit. Then transport and communication facilities. The development of transport and communication will benefit all farms. In what way? I've taught students about Meru. Meru is very productive. Naambiwa generally wana mvua nzuri na soils nzuri, so they produce bananas na vitu vingine. So there was one time walikuwa na shida, because their main market wanakwenda neighbors wao ni kama Wajir, Garissa. Sasa ilikuwa wawezi kuwafikia, because kufika huko na uko na perishable bananas, si utafika karibu zimeiva, zimeharibika. Lakini sasa wakati wa NAC government 2003, wakati our late president alianza kuinvest sana kwa infrastructure, the place opened up. So anasema unaweza kutoka na maziwa na ndizi ufike Wajir na Garissa siku ya soko na uuze na uuze. So infrastructure will be a benefit to agriculture. It can be a benefit for other industries, and unaona places kama Wai, Joska, Kamulu. Those places used to be distance. Lakini siku hizi ni town. Kuna watu wanaishi Kamulu hapa, wanakuja town wanarudi. What has opened those places? Infrastructure. Roads. Okay? Stima, connectivity ya stima, and so on. Connectivity ya barabara, connectivity ya maji. These things, would benefit everybody. These are external economies, ukitengeneza barabara in an area, every business now has an opportunity. Then the availability of factors of production, other factor inputs in that area. Kama kuna raw materials inapatikana pale, kama kuna labor inapatikana, will always be readily available to a place within a developed industry. Kama unaona ukienda places kama mahali Mumia Sugar factory iko, ama mahali Webuye Pan Pepper Mills ilikuwa when it was active, watu wa area hiyo unapata wanakuwa na uzoefu wa skills fulani. Mtu anajua kuendesha tractors kwa sababu anapata the supply labor to that particular company. So within a developed industries, you find within that area people develop skills so that they can supply labor to that industry. Wengine unapata access. Unaona mali Del Monte, sasa unaona mananasi imekuwa kwa wingi sana hapo, na wengi wa watu wa area hiyo I believe wale wamefaidika ni kutokana na kazi ambao ya kuajiriwa Del Monte. I've gone to Magadi Soda. Iko county gani? Iko Kajiado. Ni Kajiado. Kule uliendeko walikuwa governor. Ni still governor. Ni Kajiado. Watu wa area hiyo wamepata faida. Kwa sababu gani? Magadi being in that area imeshughulikia kuwekea watu pipe water, kuchimba boreholes, connectivity, mashule. Did you know the former, imekaa sasa, but kuna former chairman wa board wa Kenya Airways alikuwa anaitwa Titus Lekuli. He was educated by Magadi Soda. Na kuna wengi wa kutoka area hiyo, they can thank Magadi Soda for their education. So within an area, ukipata industry fulani kama Magadi, unapata kuna infrastructure ina develop, roads, watu wanapata training, to provide labor to that company and so on. So the development of there'll be availability of factors of production like labor, raw materials will be readily available to a place within a developed industry. Then availability of technical services and other auxiliary services. Kuna services zinakuja specifically to serve industries in a particular area. Nilienda, nishasikia kampuni inaitwa Kenya Fluorspar. You've heard of Kenya Fluorspar? They were mining a mineral in Elgeyo Marakwet. Hiyo mineral inaitwa fluorspar. Walikuwa wanatoa fluorspar ile hiyo na wameajiri watu pale, na hiyo fluorspar was for the export market. Kidogo miaka ya 2000 and something hapo wakaanza kupata shida, kwa sababu kulikuwa na South African company nayo ilikuwa imeanza kumine fluorspar and taken most of their market share. Walikuwa wanauza fluorspar in India, so wao wakachukua. So ikabidi sasa kampuni na slow down na watu wanakosa kazi. A lot of things had started in that area. Kulikuwa na shops zinarun, kulikuwa na vibanda vinarun vya kukopesha watu, kwa sababu unajua mtu anafanya kazi Kenya Fluorspar atalipa M-Pesa shops nini. Kulikuwa na shule, hata Kenya Fluorspar yenyewe walikuwa wametengeneza shule ambao watoto walikuwa wanasoma wakitumia tablets. Wamenunua, watoto wanatumia tablets kusoma. So fear ya wale watu tulipokuwa tukiongea nao, wanasema sasa mtoto wangu alikuwa amepata foundation nzuri sana ya kutumia technology kusoma. Sasa now that this thing is coming to an end, what will happen? I cannot afford kumpeleka shule ambazo maybe zina offer the same technology in private. Haiwezekani. So what are we saying? We are saying there will be availability of technical services. Utapata insurance companies zimekuja mahali pale to provide certain specific services tailored at that industry, banking services and so on. So that will be available to the whole industry, irrespective of the farms, the individual farms. So the availability of technical services and other auxiliary are support services. Service industries in an area will develop special knowledge for the needs of particular industries and often leads to the provision of specialized services like banking, insurance, transport. So those are external economies of scale. Then you also have these economies of scale. These economies of scale will be certain disadvantages. So even as there are very many advantages, as a company, you know, increases its scale of plant, there are also disadvantages that come in. Some could be managerial. A manager alikuwa amezoea kudeal na small numbers of people. Now he has to deal with big departments, big personnel. Then there could be a complicated administrative structure where you have now the CEO somewhere, you know, the other many offices reporting to the CEO, you know, so you have complex administrative structures, making decision difficult. So decisions zinakuwa ngumu. Sasa mtu wa kawaida uko hapa chini. Kabla watu wakutane, wafanye mikutano, nifikie CEO, it not only takes time, it's very bureaucratic. Hiyo ndio inaitwa bureaucracy. Hakuna mtu anaweza kuvuka this chain of commands and lines of authority. You know, these things come as a company becomes big. But when a firm is still small, you even know the manager by name. Na anakujua. Ona kama Teacher Service Commission. You know how many teachers there are in this country? Can you take a guess? Nafikiri kutoka walimu kama wangapi nchi hii under Teacher Service Commission? Nafikiri kama wangapi? 80,000. Anasema 80,000. What do you think? 40,000. Do you know that there are over 350,000 teachers in this country? 350,000. Tunajua inaanzia primary. Ama hamna habari? Hao wote wako under TSC. All under the same commission, TSC. Naanza primary, unakuja secondary or high school, unakuja tertiary institutions. All under TSC, except these universities, public universities are public universities are independent. Easy unaona TVET institution, they are all under TSC. Technical institutes, they are all under TSC. So we are between 350,000 to 400,000 people. Do you know TSC has a very wide administrative structure? Inaenda mpaka kwa county. Unapata sasa county ndio ina structure kama hii. County sasa. Hiyo sasa haijafika national. County huko. Mnashughulikiwa shida zenu. So wewe kama mwalimu, hakuna mtu anakujua by name. TSC number. You just a payroll number. Lazima you quote that number before you can be attended. Ndio physical file itoke mahali. Wakati walikuwa in this building, files za walimu zilikuwa zinachukua floor mbili. 2 floors hapa. Moja wapo ilikuwa 15th floor, ilikuwa inaitwa registry. Files, paper file. So that ukikuja umereport hapa, file yako lazima itafutwe iletwe. Iwekwe mbele ya ofisa ambaye anadeal na kesi yako. Do you see how complicated it can be? As a firm grows bigger, file yako kama ionekani huwezi kushughulikia. Kama ulikuwa umetoka Meru ama ulikuwa umetoka Kisumu ama Nakuru, utakaa mpaka sikile file itakapopatikana. Kama huwezi keti, utarudi. You come and check another time. How can they deal with your issue when your file has not been found? It can be that complex. So these economies, so these are disadvantages experienced by a firm as it increases the scale of production. This includes the following. Managerial. As a firm gets larger, the manager deals with more complicated problems, with a more complex organizational structure, very complex. Most managers may not be able to cope That's why every business looks for an experienced manager, because not everybody can. Experienced CEOs in this country are paid top dollar. Did you know that? Did you know that? Kupata kama CEO wa Safaricom took them a lot of time to interview people. Actually, the current CEO, I think, was working outside the country. He had just come. He was working for an international organization. Sio rahisi, because dealing with complex issues kama hizi watu wengine hawawezi. Look at the former CEO of KCB. Anaitwa nani? Former CEO wa KCB. Alikuwa anaitwa nani? Anaitwa Joshua Waigara. Waigara ametoka KCB kama contract yake bado. Contract yake was supposed to end in December. Akaondoka. Akalipwa marupurupu yake, sijui how many millions. Sasa hivi, within 2 months, tayari Stanbic wanampa contract, anaanza kazi. Stanbic. And don't tell me Stanbic will pay him less than what he used to get at KCB. Is that possible? Do you know the highest paying CEO in this country is from a bank? Cooperative Bank. Cooperative Bank may not be the most profitable, but they have the highest paid CEO. Nafikiri na earn pesa ngapi? 200 million ni nyingi sana. And earn like 38M every month. These others are not even close. Nobody is even close. Not even CEO of Equity. Hata James Mwangi. Yes, sir. Hata Safaricom wanna earn less than that gentleman. Now, I can tell you, a bank cannot pay you for free. They know his value, don't you think? They know his value. Even this year, I think Cooperative Bank was voted the top enterprise for something in Africa. Just this year. Hakuna mtu atapatia pesa ya bure. They know why they are paying him that.
But no, it's not the most working person.
Well, you might look at it that way, but wow, wanaiona different. Wanasema wale wa chini do not have the model. Hawajui kule wana. This guy ndiye ana hiyo model. Yeye ndiye anakaa chini, anatoa concept. Then anakuambia wewe utaingia hapa, wewe unafit hapa. Lakini wewe wakati unafit, hujui mnaenda wapi. Huyo ambaye anakuambia wewe utafit hapa is like a coach wa team. Wewe unafikiri coach wa some of those teams in Europe utamlipa less than unalipa players? Is that possible? Na yeye ndiye anaona the bigger picture. So you could have managerial economics, this economics. That's why good managers earn top dollar, even in this country, even in the world, even globally. You could have administrative diseconomics, difficulties in making decisions because of these bureaucratic challenges. An issue will have to go through policies, procedures, meetings. By the time unafanya decision, a smaller company hata walikuwa wameingia kwa hiyo market, wameanza kuuza. Nyinyi bado, you're going through a process. Administrative diseconomics. In large companies, there are long lines of communication and complex administrative procedures which delay effective action. Delay, then over specialization. In very big companies, there's a lot of specialization, which is good, and it also could be bad. If you over specialize, let me give you an example. There's a very big company that makes furniture, named Victoria Industries. You've heard of Victoria? Victoria? Are they called Victoria Furniture? Victoria Furniture. Ukienda Koinange, some of the big showrooms are Victoria. Wanauza very expensive furniture. Ukipata recliner, kiti ya recliner, hapo utapata kiti moja ya recliner unaweza uziwa 65,000. One seat. Sio set. Ukisema set, we are talking of something different. Set ni 350,000 plus kwa Victoria Furniture. Sasa huko, being a big company, kuna specialization. Wewe unaweza ingia huko as a guy who is an all-rounder. Ukianza kiti kama hiyo recliner, you can make from scratch na utengeze seats zote kumaliza. But wao wanakuambia sasa hapa, wewe ukija, wewe utakuwa specialist wa leather. Wewe ni wa kuweka cover ya juu pekee yake. So wengine wanashughulikia kutengeneza frame na kuweka cushioning na kuweka kila kitu. Wewe wakimaliza unaingia na kazi ya leather. After some time, the mind na practice, some of the skills ulikuwa nazo za kutengeneza frames zinaanza kupotea. Sasa wewe unakuwa expert wa leather. So ukienda kwa kampuni nyingine tuseme kazi imekwisha Victoria, unasema mimi I'm good at working leather. Wanakuambia sasa hapa sisi tuna kazi ya kutengeneza kiti from scratch. Sio leather. Ama uende Gikomba, kwambie we want somebody who can make a bed from zero to completion. Wewe tuambie unaweza kutengeneza vitanda ngapi? Mtu wa Victoria kanuni. Hajazoea hivyo. Yeye amezoea they work together. Kuna department na tengeneza frame ya kitanda inamaliza. Sasa yeye anakuja na spray ya machine. Sasa yeye amespecialize. Amesahau jinsi ya kutengeneza miguu ya kitanda. He can't remember. So akienda Gikomba watacheka sana. Kile ni expert wa spray. Hiyo kazi hatuna hapa. Hapa tunataka fundi. Taambia kijana wewe si fundi. What they don't know is at one time you had all that knowledge. But because you went and worked in a big organization, you specialized. And you became so good at doing one thing. With time, your mind and your expertise in the other areas went down. Even as an accountant, utaenda kwa the first job ukipata kwa hotel industry, itakuwa vigumu sana upate skills za industry. Utakuwa unatoka hoteli unaingia hoteli nyingine. Toka another hotel unajipata hoteli nyingine. Because uzoefu wako sasa iko a long hotel na ukipata accountants alianzia kazi hospitali. It will be rotating within hospitals. Hospitali ikikwisha anapata kazi hospitali nyingine. Ukipata accountant ameanzia kwa construction, yeye sasa anakuwa mpo construction. Construction mahali construction is the accountant. Specialization. But then there's a downside to that. When you specialize so much, you can be bored. Tuseme kama wewe umetrain as an accountant, unawekwa kwa purchases ledger. Imagine the whole week umekuwa unaandika purchases ledger. And the whole month unalipwa salary purchases ledger. The whole year purchases ledger. Utaanza kuumwa na kichwa. Because hakuna kazi ya kufikiria. Kila siku ukikuja unachukua computer, unaweza wapi hizo ledger books, unaanza ku make entries. Purchases ledger. Hakuna creativity, hakuna imagination, unaweza anza kuwa absent because umechoka na kazi. But you see, if you go to a small firm, you are a jack of all trades. Unafanya kila kitu. So a bigger firm kuna over specialization. So as firms grow, workers narrow their scope to a very specific function, which may lead to boredom, reduce creativity. You can't have challenges to think outside the box, and occupational immobility. Getting other jobs, that's where it will be difficult. The lack of personal touch, workers become depersonalized with only a limited interest in the success of the company. This may lead to strikes sometimes and labor disputes, which may reduce efficiency and output. Then dependence on foreign markets. You see, as a firm becomes big, kama Brookside, unaona kama Brookside, sasa wameshinda market ya Kenya because they are very big. You know how they became big? Through margins. Wananunua processors. Hizi company ndogo ndogo wananunua you are a dominant. But after kukua dominant, unapata you're too big for this market. So you have to look for markets outside this country and elsewhere because it becomes difficult. Okay, so dependence on foreign markets. Large firms may not be satisfied by the local market. Kama Brookside, itabidi tu watafute market nje. Equity, wako South Sudan, wako Uganda, wako Rwanda. Now they're in DRC. KCB, the same. At Mount Kenya University, they are too large for the local market. They are in every town in Kenya. Sasa wameenda Kigali, one. Actually, they've been there for a few years, you know. Mount Kenya wameenda sana. In this country, they are almost in every town. Now they've even gone outside this country. I think they're even in South Sudan, Mount Kenya University. So large firms may not be satisfied by local market, hence will depend on the more unpredictable international markets. So uncertainty inaweza kuwa hata kwa local market, lakini ukienda mahali wewe ni foreigner, it becomes even more uncertain. It becomes even more uncertain because kule nje wanaweza kubadilisha sheria ama waseme lazima uchukue partners ambao ni wa local. Na partners wa local unaweza kuchukua watu ambao watakusumbua. Kwa sasa ukienda Sudan wakuambie wanataka kujoin kampuni yako na wataki kulipa capital simply because we're in their country. Give us shares. Anyway, foreign markets are unpredictable kwa sababu ya sheria zao. Most likely will be different from your own country. They might demand that you have locals, you know, give them shares in your company, you know, for you to operate. So there are all sorts of uncertainties in a local market, in a foreign market. Then big firms are inflexible, they are rigid. Making decisions takes time and it's difficult to make those decisions. So large firms are less adaptable to change due to bureaucratic challenges. Bureaucracy managing easy lines of communications. So they are not adaptable. They cannot make changes very fast. Decision making is difficult. Now, despite everything we've said, despite the advantages of scaling up, economies of scale, internal and external, despite all that, how come, this is the question we want to ask ourselves, how come some firms still remain small? And you'll find many reasons why some firms remain small. One of the reasons, there are businesses where you don't need to be big to start enjoying economies of scale, like saloon business, like laundry, like easy, speaking naona churches, sio nyingi sana, easy photographic studio. You don't need to be very big. You can start enjoying economies of scale at a very small size, and because of that, there is no urge to grow big. Some other farms have remained small for lack of capital. Look at shops where you live. You think they don't want to be supermarkets? They do. But you find somebody with a shop for many years, mpaka mnamjua jina. I'm sure mnajua jina ya shopkeeper, mahali unapokaa, you know, unajua, actually mnamuita jina ya shop yake. Now, I think, wote wako na dreams. Siku moja they'll open a bigger supermarket, but why they are still a small shop is for lack of capital. Some businesses still remain small because they don't want their management to be interfered with by outsiders. Sijui kama mko mnajua, mko na supermarket branch moja tu kwa hii Moi Avenue. Hapo ukifika pale mwisho kabla uvuke barabara ukienda Naivas. Hapa tu kwa njia ilikuwa inaitwa Ibrahim's. It has been there for many years. Now, let me give you some shocking facts. That Ibrahim's was there before Tuskys formed. But ni branch moja tu, haina mbili. Tuskys became national, ikaenda Eldoret, Nairobi, Kisumu, wapi, wako tuna hiyo branch moja. Naivas came, actually Naivas came before Tuskys. Ikaenda everywhere. I even shopped in a branch of Naivas in Rwanda. Today there's no Naivas. I mean, there's no, haikuwa Naivas, Nakumatt. Leo hakuna Nakumatt. Now, some people might remain small because it's a family business. So they don't want partners from joining the board to bring capital because they don't want their control to be watered down. They don't want their control to be interfered. So it will remain small. Inabaki kidogo. You know, some businesses remain small like that. Kama hiyo. Okay? Others might remain small because of the nature of the product. Hapa River Road, hapo nyuma ya fire, kuna kampuni, sijui kama ungepata kujua, from a family called Nagin Partners. Nagin Partners ni jina ya mtu, mwindi fulani, jamii fulani, wamekuwa kwa biashara ya kutengeneza rings, engagement rings, wedding rings, na mikufu mingine kama ya bling ya shingo and so on. Now, that kind of business is small. That's why you know the few families that are in that business. Wengi wanajua Nagin Partners because ukiwauza, wewe ulipoenda ulinunua hii wapi? So some businesses are small. So you cannot have a shop in every corner. Because how many times do you buy jewelry? How many times do you buy rings? Very few. So some businesses are small. So survival of small farms, despite the numerous advantages enjoyed by large farms, small farms still exist. The reasons for the existence of small farms include: one, small farms are very flexible. Very flexible. They can try new things. I know of young people in the university who started a tailoring business, and theirs was flexible because you can call them and they come and take the measurements in your office. Sio lazima wewe uende kwao. Then wanajituma, wanakwambia hii suti yako ama hii nguo yako itakuwa ready in the next one week, and they make sure they got so many customers. When they graduated, they never looked for work. You know, least to say that what they were doing in the university has nothing to do with tailoring. Fashion was just something like, you know, if you like, a pastime. Yeah, come a hobby. And they turned it into a business. Wakitoka wameajiri watu, that's what they do. They formed a partnership, hawakutafuta kazi. Hiyo ndio imekuwa kazi. Flexibility. Kama sasa kuna watu wanafanya laundry, they are ready to come to your home to pick clothes. So hiyo inaweza kuaje wewe utoe nguo zile hata huko tayari kutoa. Amekuja hapo mlangoni. Utatoa hata zile nguo huko umepanga kutoa. Na wakati wa kurudisha pia na kurudishia mlangoni. So kama ulikuwa na maybe a customer wa White Rose, wale lazima wewe uende. Tunaona sasa White Rose wanapoteza customer. Because kuna mwingine anakuja kwako, White Rose wanangoja uende kwao. Flexibility. Small farms are more willing to take risks and try new ideas, i.e. they are more flexible and respond rapidly to needs of their customers. They're very quick to respond to what the customer wants. But large farms are slow in decision making. Two, the possibility of enjoying economies of scale while operating small. In retail services, come a taxi, dry cleaning, or even hairdressing, and in production processes like photographic studio, you can still enjoy economies of scale at very low operational levels. It doesn't have to be a high operational level. You can still enjoy economies of scale at a low operational level. The nature of the product, specialized or personalized goods of high quality, do not permit the development of technical economies. Kama fashion, you know, kama fashion, fashion sio kitu unaweza kufanya mass production. I don't know about designs in Kenya, but globally kuna fashion houses kama Versace. Umesikia gani? Umesikia kama gani? Gucci, and they specialize in bags. Ukisikia mtu anataka label, anataka Gucci, Louis Vuitton, you know, those fashion houses. Kama hao cannot have technical economies because anatengeneza a specific design ambao hata wale wanavaa hautawahi kutana na mtu wako naye. Ni label na inatoka $10,000. $10,000 unafikiri pesa ngapi ya Kenya? You buy one item. Hizo sasa ndio models wanavaa, wanaenda nazo kwa catwalk. Hizo unique designs. Those ones cannot be done in mass production. So you have to operate, you know, because things are tailor-made, specific requirements of a customer. Anataka somewhere, unamtafutia hiyo, you know, una design from scratch. So nature of product, specialized or personalized goods of high quality goods do not permit the development of technical economies like hairdressing, like tailoring. Then the market might be too small or too localized to enable the growth of large farms. E.g. in case of jewelry, you might be about Nagin pattern. If you look around in this market, you might not find other names, but maybe 2 or 3, because the market for jewelry is small, or even watchmaking. Then in some large-scale industries, small farms can survive by providing products that complement the main product. Unaona kama motor industry, mtu anaweza kusema mimi nitauza taya. Sikuna hapa Kirinyaga ukienda utapata small shops, kazi yake ni taya peke yake. Yet the motor industry is large. So small farms still exist to provide just a part. Kuna zingine utapata wana provide to ukitaka windscreen ama ukitaka replacement ya madirisha peke yake. Wao wana deal na glass peke yake na accessories za kuweka glass kwa gari peke yake. Yet they are all in motor industry. Wengine wana deal na spares. Wengine wana deal na bulb peke yake. So in big industries, a small farm may still survive by providing maybe part of what is required for the whole product. So in large scale, so that's motor industry. Some trades require large capital so that farms remain small for lack of capital. For you, for example, to operate a supermarket, you may need a lot of, maybe not so, but still, come on, I learned about the concept ambayo Nakumatt walikuwa wanatumia. Wao wakija wana rent, still it needs a whole capital. Kwa kama hii lifestyle, wao ndio wamekuwa wamerent the whole building. Sasa anybody anakuja wapo ni wao wanamsublet. Because wanaambia mwenye building, sisi tukiingia kwa hii building, ni sisi tuna attract other customers. So wao wanakubaliwa warani. So nyinyi mnakuwa sublet na Nakumatt,
wao ndio na control. Kama hiyo the whole of lifestyle hii ilikuwa hapa chini, ilikuwa billing ya NSSF. So they hired the whole billing from NSSF. Wao ndio wanalipa NSSF. Kwa sasa wateja wote wataingia kwa hiyo billing, wanalipa na kuacha. Sasa wao kwa shop yao watakwambia wao they don't own anything. Wewe ukikuwa supplier wa Blueband, wanakuambia shelf yako ndio hii. Unaweka vitu kwa shelf yako, wanakuambia unataka tulipane aje? Tulipane after kuuza ama kabla? So kama ni after, ukija wanakuambia kuja after a week or kuja after a month, wanakuambia this here the record, this is what we have. So here is your money. So wao hawezi kununua products from you because wamekupatia display shelf. Display. Sasa wewe ndio unalipa taxes. Lazima ulipe VAT za your product. KRA wakienda hapo lazima sisi we only own the shelf. Hiyo Coca-Cola ni product ya, hiyo Blueband ni product ya, hiyo tissue proper ni product ya wengine. So mwangojee wao waambie mambo ya VAT. Sisi tumesha. So concept yao ilikuwa ukiwa mtu wa products unaleta bidhaa yako, utakuja kuchukua pesa baadaye. Wao kazi yao ni kuuzia customer. Ukija baadaye wanakulipa haki yao. So mahali walifail ni kukaa na pesa za watu bila kulipa. Wana collect pesa, wana collect hata rent ya landlord, wanaenda wanajenga nayo vitu Dubai. They built a lot of properties in Dubai. Wao hawakupoteza kitu. When Nakumatt went down, ilienda na capital za wengine. Wao hawakupoteza. They went with billions belonging to us. Billions belong to suppliers. Unaenda unasema mimi utengeza mandazi, unakwambia unaweza kutengeza mandazi size fulani, packets fulani, unaleta unaweka kwa shelf. So ukija wanakwambia tujauza ndio hizi. Unaenda. Singine ukija wanasema ndio hii hapa record tumeuza packet 5, 10, 50, pesa yako ndio. Leta zingine, leta supply nyingine unaleta. Sasa zingine hata unapata wameuza lakini wana machama kavu wanakuambia leta supply nyingine, pesa yako utapata 2 weeks from now. That's how waliendelea kupile madeni ya watu. Kaena na capital ya watu. Finally, the management of a small farm may resist growth for fear of losing control of the business. This is like family businesses, so they don't want other shareholders to come in because they will lose control. Because ukishauza shares, you can't just make a decision. Kama Equity Bank, you have to call the shareholders. You have to propose to them. They have to vote on it. Watu wengine hawataki. Wanataka bado ibaki kwa jina ya family. They don't want. So hiyo tumemaliza chapter 6, theory of cost. Anybody with a question on theory of cost? So now we move to chapter 7, inaitwa consumer theory. So chapter 7 is called consumer theory. So what is consumer theory? Consumer theory is an attempt to study the behavior of a consumer. Is an attempt, ukipenda, this can be a topic in behavioral economics. Najua hapa tumekuwa too simple. Tunasema tutadivide economics as micro and macro. Lakini kuna behavioral economics, kuna development economics. So behavioral economics is a mix of psychology, and economics. Inajaribu kuona huyu consumer anafikiria aje. What goes through his mind mpaka afike point ya kusema nataka kununua hii computer. Because kama ukijua kile kinaenda through his mind, then you'll be able to understand his buying behavior. Ukielewa his buying behavior, it could be useful to sell to him, isn't it? Yes. So hakutakuwa na haja ya kumlazimisha. You try and trigger. Unajaribu kutrigger hata kama ni kutumia advert ama kitu kwa social media, unajaribu kutrigger certain things kwa mind ya consumer kwa sababu unajua if they are triggered he will buy. So kwa hii topic we learn about two theories that try to explain the consumer behavior. The first theory, so tunajaribu kutumia science sasa kuelewa consumer. The first theory itaitwa cardinalist approach. So hii ni chapter 7 inaitwa consumer theory. Consumer theory. So kuna theory mbili. Theory ya kwanza inaitwa cardinalist. Theory ya pili itaitwa ordinalist. Hii ni theory ya kwanza. Theory ya pili itaitwa ordinalist. Sasa cardinalist approach ni theory inasema hivi. Okay? Kwanza ina assumptions. Assumption ya kwanza ni kwamba the consumer is rational. It doesn't just spend. Kuna thought process inaenda through kwanza kabla decide hawezi kutoa pesa tu. Lazima ajue ni nini anapata. Na kama anapata, is this the best he can get? Ama there's something better. So consumer is rational before spending. In other words, he wants to get maximum utility or maximum satisfaction out of the spending. Then assumption ya pili hapa ni kwamba you can measure what the consumer gets out of consuming every product. Unaweza kupima. Kama ni soda na consumer amewekewa Coca-Cola na amewekewa Fanta, kama akichagua Coke, sio ati kuchagua tu. Tunaweza kupima tujue kipimo cha satisfaction in Coke kimeshinda kile cha Fanta kwa sababu amechukua. Now we assume in this approach kipimo hicho kinaitwa U-times. Kuna units zinaitwa U-times. So that kuna measurements. Nasema mimi ni kila mkate inanipatia 5 U-times. I'm not talking about calories. I'm talking about vile una feel, utility, satisfaction. Mwingine anasema mimi ni kila nduma na nafikiri napata 6 U-times. So nduma is better than mkate. But then you must not forget about the cost. Then another assumption ni kwamba kuna kitu inaitwa marginal utility. Marginal utility ni kwamba hizi units za any commodity tutakuwa consume one after the other. Like kama ni chapati, you first take the first one, unasikia vile imekufikisha. Then unachukua ya pili, una hiyo imenifikisha wapi? So according to this theory, the first one gives you more utility than the second one. In other words, kuna kitu inaitwa marginal or extra utility as you consume more units. Now according to this theory, hiyo marginal utility inaenda ikipungua. And that explains, wanaweza kugeneralize that generally that's how consumers behave. Akishapata kitu, anakuwa na ugumu wa kulipa zaidi for the second. Hiyo second one anataka kubadili. Anataka discount. Lakini ya kwanza, he was ready to pay more. Lakini kwa sababu though sheria hiyo, ama that theory will have exceptions. Kama the desire for knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the more you want. Ama money. Watu ambao wako na pesa nyingi sana wanaweza kukuua kwa sababu ya pesa, lakini wewe uko na kidogo, lakini unasema huyu jamaa halali, hapumziki, is all over the place. Kama ni yeye ningekuwa na starehe, lakini yeye hawezi. I was told about some guy who has employed a watchman for his gate, and he has a good house. He sleeps in a good bed, And then one night he finds he cannot sleep. He kept turning. In his compound, he has dogs. And he feeds his dogs very well, as you might know. And ananunua dog food. See, it's very expensive. So chakula cha mbwa kinaweza kuwa even more expensive than the salary analipa watchman. Is it true? It's true. Have you ever tried kuangalia dog food kwa supermarket? Chakula cha mbwa ni expensive. Unafikiri wanapewa supu? Sasa jamaa kwa sababu alikuwa ameshindwa kulala, akadecide to walk around, akatoka kwa kitanda chake, akateremka, hata akatoka nje, akatembea mpaka gate. Kufika gate, who does he find? His watchman asleep. Unajua watchman hapo kwa kibanda tu. Sivika kibanda. Hata akatosheni. Akistretch hivi, anakunja miguu kidogo, anaweka back nyuma ya the wooden structure. Na akasikia na smoke. This man waka space kadogo, hata anakunja miguu. It's very uncomfortable and he can get sleep here. Na mimi in my king size bed na nalala juu, sipati usingizi. Where is the secret? Aka decide to have a chat with the watchman. Ambia fulani. Si fulani anaamka akistuka. Yeah, boss, let's see. Ambia relax. Don't want to victimize you. Just a few questions. Akamuuliza fulani, hapa unalala nje kwa gate, kwa baridi, hata blanketi. How do you manage to snow here? Na baridi ya usiku, una manage to snow? Because mimi have peace of mind. Mimi pesa ninazopata kama mshahara hazitoshi hata basi. Kutoka hapa nikiamka asubuhi, I walk to where I live, and I live in a slum. Nikifika huko, mke wangu atanipa maji moto, atachemsha kidogo nioge. Kile atakachonipa hata kama ni ugali na mrenda, nitakula with one heart. I give thanks kwa Mungu, nitakula mpaka nishibe na nilale. Nikiamka, I'm ready again to walk back to here. Sina mafikira mengi. My life is about a few things. Just a few things. Kuna mambo hayapo kwa akili yangu. I don't torment myself about fare matatu. I've learned to live within my limits. Hizo limits zangu. So mimi hata nikila ugali na mboga ama niende nyumbani nipate ni mahindi mke wangu amepika na maharagwe, nashukuru Mungu nakula hiyo na natosha. So it made the boss think, as Mimi, I spend lots of money. I have the fine things of this earth. But this man is out in the elements. Hata mvua ikikuja upepo itampata, and it's nowhere. So consumer behavior pia ni no. So kuna exceptions za hii law. Inaitwa the axiom of diminishing marginal utility. Nasema kila kitu ambacho ukipata cha kwanza na cha pili, desire inaenda. But kuna exceptions. Utapata the desire for knowledge. Kuna watu wana, kama the late Robert Mugabe, the president of Zimbabwe, had 7 degrees and studied. Then akona za kupewa honorary. So in total alikuwa I think na 12 degrees za kupewa. Hizi honorary na zake sana. How do you explain that? How do you explain that? What was he looking for? How do you explain that? So there's an exception to knowledge. The more you start going deeper into knowledge, the more you want to study. You know? Like that. Na pesa, na beer. I'm told wale unyo can think they want to be disciplined. So anasema, I have only little money. So I'll go there and only take 2. How they'll end up leaving that place at 3 a.m. they will not tell you. Because huwezi kusema I'll take 2 full stop na unafika huko unapata marafiki, Mnaanza kudiscuss football, unaona football. It's your happiest moment. You don't even remember unaenda wapi na msanga. So mwingine anasema sasa watu wapewe. Hivyo unastukia ni 3 am ama ni 4 am. Those are exceptions. So consumer theory. The consumer is one of the most important economic decision-making units. Consumer theory is an attempt to explain consumer behavior when faced with the right of choice. What goes through the consumer's mind when making choices of what to buy, i.e., why the consumer uses to choose his income the way he does. 2 theories have been advanced in an attempt to explain consumer behavior. 2 theories. The first theory is called the cardinalist. Bado inaitwa marginal utility approach. The second theory is called the ordinalist or indifference curve approach. So we start with the cardinalist or the marginal utility approach. This theory is based on the following assumptions. Kwanza, that we are all rational. You don't just spend your money. No. The money will be spent after careful thought. The consumer is assumed to be rational. He aims at maximizing his utility subject to his income. So out of what I have, what do I buy? What you buy will be informed with what you think will maximize your utility. The second assumption is utility, that the utility of each commodity is assumed to be measurable in units. So if I'm taking a loaf of bread, I know what I'm getting out of a loaf of bread. And to me, actually, most of us here, if you are given a decision, kuna loaf of bread hapa, na kuna nduma, nusu ya nduma, both are 50. Ama nduma ya 55, which is half that small drum, na mkate mzima. I'm sure hakuna mtu atachagua nduma. You'll go for the loaf for many reasons. Kwanza utareason, sema sasa hii nduma. So you have to maximize your utility. So as a family, you cannot eat a half a nduma. As a family, nduma ina cost the same 55 as bread. Most families, without even thinking, loaf of bread, loaf of bread itakuwa enough breakfast for a family of even 4 kids or even 3 kids. Mtu anakula to slide to wheel ama 3. Lakini nduma nusu utapeleka wapi? So utility can be measured. Is assumed to be measurable in units known as utilities of the commodity. 3, the marginal utility of money is assumed to be constant, that every shilling can give you the same amount of satisfaction. Constant utility of money. So utility per shilling is the same. So this is necessary if money is to be used as a measure of utility. Because if its own utility is not constant, then it cannot be used as a measure of utility of other commodities. So we first assume the utility per shilling is constant, so that money can be used as a measure of utility for other ones. So utility, this refers to the amount of satisfaction obtained by a consumer from consuming a given amount of a commodity. Utility can be total or marginal. 2, total utility is the total satisfaction obtained from consuming a given amount of a commodity. The marginal utility is the extra or additional utility to the total utility resulting from consuming 1 more unit of the commodity. So marginal utility will be change in total utility of a change in consumption. So MU is delta TU. That symbol means change over delta Q. So the cardinalist approach attempts to quantify and measure consumer satisfaction. The unit of measure for this satisfaction, according to this theory, is called a utile. According to this theory. Central to the cardinalist approach is the concept of marginal utility and the axiom of diminishing marginal utility. So, according to this theory, the marginal or the extra utility will be diminishing as you get more units of a commodity. So to illustrate that, we have a schedule there. So schedule of total marginal utility from consuming units of commodity X. So column 1 is units of X per week, from 0 up to 8 units. Column 2 is total utility per week, and column 3 is marginal utility. So you can see when consuming 1 unit, total utility is 20. 2 units, total utility becomes 50. 3 units, 70. 4 units, 80. 5 units, 85. 6 is 87, then it's stuck. Because the law of diminishing marginal utility has already started. Now, if you look at extra utility of consuming 1, assuming hizo ni machapati unakula. Ukila chapo ya kwanza unapata 20 newtons. Chapo ya pili bado unapata 30. Oh, chapo ya tatu imeshuka. Sasa ni only 20. Chapo ya 4 ni 10. Ya 5 ni 5. Kuna watu wanakula mpaka chapo 6 you only get 2 newtons. By the time unakula chapo 7, it is 0. It's adding nothing. You're eating because it's a hobby. Unakula tu because unataka umalize ziko hapo. Unawezaje kula chapo 7? 0 marginal utility. Lakini ukisema bado nitamenyana na ya 8 na add negative. So you are inviting stomach upsets. Haikusaidii mwilini kabisa. Garbage in, garbage out. Hakuna value, hakuna food value. You can see it's even adding negative. So you can even plot that in a graph, so that on the horizontal you have units you're consuming, how many units, and on the vertical you have utility. Then you plot total utility and marginal utility on the same graph. So unaweza kuona the behavior of total utility. Inapanda, inafika mahali, inafika maximum. I think when you're consuming total utility, inafika maximum when you're consuming 6 or 5. From there, it starts going down. Naanza to diminish. But marginal utility is extreme, has extreme behavior. You inapanda very fast, but inafika maximum when you're consuming only 3. Only 2 actually. Chapo 2 zimetosha. Chapo 2 tu zimetosha. Because after that, what happens? Inaanza kushuka very, very fast. Mpaka by the time you are taking the 7th one, it is 0. 8 negative. 9 negative. We kula tu, but it's garbage in, garbage out. So sometimes the examiner is here to illustrate the behavior of total utility and marginal utility. Hata kama huna numbers, ana expect kitu kama hii. Utamwambia total utility vile ilipanda, ikafika maximum, ikateremka. Marginal utility ilifika maximum after only 2. So don't eat more than 2 chapati. Then ikaanza kuteremka. By the 7th is 0. Then inaingia negative. So ukiulizwa about marginal utility and total utility, think about chapatis. Yes.
Okay, marginal utility illustration from to
straight line. Hapana, haiwezi kuwa straight line. The reason why haiwezi kuwa straight line, lazima ipande kiasi. Ifike peak. Na unaona ifiki peak bali sana. Inafika peak at only 2. Then inaanza kuteremka. Na ikiteremka inateremka very fast. So hiyo haiwezi kuwa straight line. Pia itapanda tu kama vile total utility. But total utility itapanda zaidi kidogo. Ifike maximum around 6 total utility. But extra ni ile unaongezea okay with every extra unit, what you add to the total unit utility. So the best is the second unit ambayo ina add 30 to total utility. The third one pia inajaribu ina add 20. The fourth one ina add 10. From then ni downward trend. Marginal utility. So in the diagram, the total utility increases with the consumption of successive units of commodity X. However, the total utility is increasing but at a decreasing rate. This illustrates the hypothesis of diminishing marginal utility, which states that as additional units of a commodity are consumed by an individual, the marginal utility of a product will eventually decline or decrease. Marginal utility is decreasing or diminishing. This hypothesis may be a reasonable generalization, okay, about consumer behavior. So reasonably, we can think in terms of this hypothesis and say, as the consumer gets more and more of anything, the likelihood is that the satisfaction is getting doing diminishing. So it's not ready to buy more, or is not ready to pay more, unless you give him an offer. Umwambie, buy 2 get 1 free. You know, atanunua. Otherwise attack. Marketers wanajua hivi. So the more the consumer has of a given commodity, the less utility is likely to derive from the consumption of an additional unit. We have exceptions, not exemptions, but exceptions. Kuna siri means exceptions. Kuna exceptions to the law of diminishing marginal utility. The first one is there are certain cases where the law of diminishing marginal utility does not apply. In case of hobbies. What are hobbies? Hobbies are past times. How you spend your free time. It's a hobby. Something you don't do because you've been forced. Some people like just walking. Hobby, walking is their hobby. People say there are people I've met who love travel. So every time, and they don't. I know of a guy, a Kenyan, on Facebook, started traveling as a hobby, and now it's making him a lot of money. He puts his videos on Facebook. Anatoka tu anaenda mahali ya juu. Now, mahali hapo anaenda, he records and shares with his viewers. I've subscribed to his channel. I watch. He's been to Mexico, ameenda Cambodia, ameenda US. He started touring Africa also. Ameenda Indonesia. He's been to so many countries. Na anaenda na fare yake. Actually, there's a video he had said, he'll explain to us where you can travel. You don't even need to worry about the fare so much. Sasa sijui kama airlines au discounts. Na afanyangi kazi nyingine. Na sahi he's building a very big house in his village. He comes from Korea, somewhere in Kisii. He's building a very big mansion, something I can't afford, and something most of us can't afford. Out of a passion, a hobby. Just to travel, meet people, take photographs with people, mara ako beach and anapiga picha na foreigners who kwa beach, wanna swim, and we just enjoy it. So I think you ulikuwa na Facebook na YouTube likes, vitu kama hizo, na many things. And that's what he does. He used to work in one of the countries. But he stopped working. Sasa hiyo ndio mafanya. Alinunua equipment, akaanza kusafiri. So akitravel and share na watu. Right now, niko Mexico. This is how nightlife is in Mexico. Anaenda kwa places, watu wana dance kwa beach, watu wanafanya nini. The lifestyle huko, ana interview people, and people love it. That's not the only hobby. There are many hobbies people have. Wengine siku hizi wamepata hobby ya TikTok. TikTok, I never used to be there. People like Asian have made a career out of just playing music and dancing themselves silly on TikTok. And people love it. And they get numbers and numbers as followers. 1 million followers, 500. And I know if I went on TikTok to try to teach economics, I will not even get 10 followers. They will not be interested. They will not. But they will be interested in people like us here dancing. They get 1 million followers. No? And so on and so forth. So hobbies are too many, and we keep developing more. Now, I saw on social media, watu wengine hobby yao ni kuwatch chicken fighting. Can that be a hobby? Some people find, a lot of fun. Analeta cock na cock zina fight na mnazunguka. It's a game. They love it. There's bullfighting in Kenya. So there's no number. There's no limit of hobbies. They'll keep coming up. I have a friend, every Sunday, when he's not going anywhere, he's in bed at a sasa. Doesn't go to church. Watoto wake wakipika wanampelekea kitandani. So how do you explain that? The guy cannot wait for Sunday to reach. Hata amka. Saa saba yuko kitandani and he feels nothing about it. It can only be a hope. So he's sleeping. So I think he's made his bed very well. So his bed is more important than the city. Because that's where he spends more time. He doesn't spend his time on the city. So it's possible to decorate that bed. Make it unique because that's where he spends most of the time. Hata ananiambia naletewa lunch kwa mchana na breakfast. To me, I think that would be extreme. Hata lunch imefika mnaniletea nile kwa mchana niendelee kulala. Really? And there are many hobbies. Wengine wanasema hobby yao ni music. And music iko na different wanazita genres na ni nyingi. Watu wengine wanapenda reggae, wengine wanapenda pop, wengine wanapenda other things, So there is no limit to hobbies. The quest for knowledge, the desire for money. Products like beer are exceptions. Then we come to consumer equilibrium. When does the consumer reach a point, consumer say, I'm now at balance. I'm now at a state where I am balanced. So the consumer equilibrium will depend on whether the consumer is consuming, say, one product, a single product, or many products. Many products. Kama ni more than one. Kama kwa mfano ni one product, the consumer will be at a place of balance when the price of that product is exactly equal to its marginal utility. That's the point of balance. So that if the consumer, for example, thinks for any one time that the price of the product is greater than marginal utility, he will not buy it. He will not buy it because he thinks the good is overpriced. So the more he keeps his income, the higher the marginal utility is going because he's not buying. Because marginal utility only goes down when you're buying more units. So if I'm not buying more, then the marginal utility goes up until it goes back to where price is exactly equal to marginal utility. But if price is less than marginal utility, it means the consumer feels that he has a bargain. The price, the commodity is undercharged, so he'll keep buying more. But as he buys more, what happens? The marginal utility is falling. The marginal utility is falling until you get back to price is equal to marginal utility. That's the place of balance. If you're consuming only one commodity. But if you have more than one commodity, then you go to the concept of equimarginal utility. You get the marginal utility per shilling. The marginal utility of X divided by the price will give you marginal utility per shilling. And we already said one of the assumptions about the Cardinalist theory is the utility per shilling is equal. So this is the marginal utility per shilling should be equal to marginal utility of Y should be equal to marginal utility of Z and so on. Mpaka any other marginal utility of M over price of. So starting with a simple model of a single commodity, the consumer can either buy commodity X or retain his income. Income is represented by Y. So he can keep his income or buy commodity X. In this case, the consumer is in equilibrium when the marginal utility of commodity X is equal to the market price. Symbolically, it can be written as Px is equals to MUX, where Px is the price of commodity X and MUX is the marginal utility of consuming commodity X. So if the marginal utility of commodity X is greater, okay, than the price, what will happen? The consumer will buy more. The consumer can increase his welfare by reducing the quantity of the commodity. Sorry, the consumer can increase his welfare by purchasing more units of commodity X. If the marginal utility of commodity X is less than the price, the consumer can increase his welfare by reducing the quantity of the commodity consumed by keeping more of his income. If there are more than one commodity being consumed, the condition for the consumer equilibrium is the equality of the ratios of the marginal utilities of the individual commodities to their prices. Symbolically, it can be written as this: MU of X. So this is the marginal utility per shilling must be equal. That's the assumption under the cardinalist approach. So where MU of X over PS of X is the marginal utility per shilling of consuming commodity X. So that law is the law of marginal utility. The marginal utility per shilling is the same. This is the extra utility derived from consuming 1 extra shilling's worth of commodity X. Thus, the condition for consumer equilibrium is when he spends his income in such a way that the utility of the last shilling spent on various commodities is the same. At this equilibrium position, it is not possible to increase the total utility by switching expenditure from one commodity to the other. Thus, the consumer will have maximized his utility if the above condition holds. If the consumer is deriving a greater marginal utility from any one commodity, he can increase his total utility by spending more on that commodity and less on the others until equilibrium is restored. Given the tastes and preferences of the consumer and the level of income, the point of maximum satisfaction will be achieved when the consumer allocates consumption expenditure in such a way that the marginal utility of the last shilling spent in each commodity is equal. This behavior is known as the law of equimarginal utility. Now, do you have any question up to there? Any question? Then I think we leave it at that point so that in the next class, we'll start by answering this question, the illustration question. We'll answer, then we finish off by looking at the criticisms of the law of equimarginal utility. Then we can introduce the other approach. So we'll start by going through this illustration. I don't want to rush it. It's very, very important. It will help us illustrate the consumer equilibrium and other things. And then we can introduce the other approach before we finish this topic. So we stop there. So please enjoy the rest of your evening. And of course, the weekend. The weekend, paka Monday. Paka Tuesday. So, unaweza kuwa my friend, upatiwe lunch kwa kitanda. Ni ngumu. Yeye anakula lunch kwa kitanda. Kwanza anakula breakfast, anaendelea.